Hello, friends. Here we are in the Northern Hemisphere in the winter, at the end of the year in the cold, and our friends in the Southern Hemisphere in their t-shirts in the warmth and heat. There's a tendency to make the Christmas time and Hanukkah time all about kind of materialist, consumerist, secular focus, and less a focus on the sacred. And I just really want to share with you why every day is sacred, and in particular why this time of year carries a special sacredness. First of all, just realize, as we come to the end of the year, it simply means that our planet, which has been traveling around the sun every day, all the time, speeding through space, is coming back to the same place relative to the sun. And so we start counting in 365 and fraction more days in every year. And we're turning on our axis day, night, day, night. It's been forever like this since the creation of this planet, and we're on it. And there are some that say that God created all this. I'm not going to argue because I don't know a better answer. But that the act of God's creation was to empty God of himself, itself, and in that space of his own self-emptying, to allow for the manifestation of the universe so that we can be spinning through space and rotating on an axis. Even if just remembering, wherever you are on planet Earth, that you're turning. You turn into the sun and its sunrise. You turn away from the sun and its sunset. Spinning through space, just perspective. And long, long ago, somehow life began, God or otherwise. Some say that this emptying that God made was an act, a fundamental act of love, in which case this whole universe is an expression of a loving, generative creation. I feel good in that. Here we are. Somehow life started here. Somehow it evolved, got more and more complex. Somehow consciousness began to appear. Eventually we appeared with our consciousness. And what's so extraordinary about us is that not only are we Homo sapiens, a thinking animal, a tool-making animal, as others have also said, but in our thinking, we've needed not only the physics of our empirical world, but the metaphysics of our mind, the creation of a sense of the transcendental, of the sacred. We are the first creatures we know of that invented the idea of God, that wonder about the soul, the self, the one, and love. And all of these things are metaphysical, they're transcendental. And now, at the end of the year, we celebrate the birth, the incarnation of love in a human being. And this human, Jesus of Nazareth, I think of him as a God changer. At least in the West, the Hebrew God was a God of the 10 Commandments. But Jesus came along and said, and he was a Hebrew, he said, God is love. Love one another. Turn your cheek. Love your enemy. And how humbling to know how difficult it is to love the internal enemies, the fears, the fear of, the psychological fears, the fear of emptiness, the fear of death, the fear of abandonment, the fear of. and to make a home for that in our own hearts, to stop being the victims of fear, and instead, this time of year, this look and say, no, I'm once again renewing my vows to be a disciple of love. And that's what makes this time of year sacred. The earth, we decide today, just a few days after solstice for me, or at the time of solstice, here in the Northern Hemisphere, the shortest day, in the Southern Hemisphere, the longest day. Wow, we're tilting. These planets are going around the sun on an axis, tilting, getting closer or further from the sun. And the weather changes, everything changes. Life evolved in this. Oh my goodness. Which makes it so laughable that we're going to send ourselves into space and never have a living thing around us, never have a true squiggle or curve everywhere, but all formed by our minds. Well, let's go ahead and do it, but let's try to imagine that we could create a loving place on this planet, that we could address our fear in the way I just spoke and become truly creators of love on this planet. How wonderful. And so we dedicate ourselves on the new year. We've lived a year, we start a new year as disciples of our relationship with love, of loving love itself. What other creature has ever conceived of such a thing? We have no idea. How easy it is to make tools. I mean, really. Once we created the notion of mathematics, which is a complete abstraction, completely intuitive, yet it gives us so much power to engineer and create technologies. Calculation, computers, more calculation, faster calculation. But there's no calculating in the heart. There's no calculating in the heart. You're not going to get a diploma for your heart. You have to choose it. The other thing I want to say in this message is I am happily, with the coming year, introducing my new website. We've rebuilt the website, refined what I want to say in it. Come soon, you'll be able to, it'll be launched very soon by the first of the year, I'm hoping, and join me in what I have to say, what I'm sharing at this end of life phase, getting into true old age. I'll be 76 soon, and unfortunately, the average life expectancy in the United States has now dropped to 76.4 years, I think. I just read that. Doesn't matter how long you live, it's how deeply you love. So I'm happy to announce the new website. Come look at it, come play with me, explore with me. I'm a teacher and I'm a mentor, and let's see how deep love can awaken in you. Happy New Year.